thank you for coming back to the channel if you are a returning listener. And if you're new, of course, thanks for stopping by. I have a treat for you today. This is the Tarot of the Divine. It's a new deck that I'm reading for here on my channel, but it is not new for me. I've had it for a little while, just been studying it. Beautiful cards, beautiful imagery. I also have the Rider-Waite Tarot here to clarify for us later if we need it. Sorry, I've been away for a while. I've had a lot of personal business to attend to. Just had some things in my life that I needed to focus on. And so let's just see what's going on. Hopefully this will be a nice read for you. We can come back. My energy is very, right now for this reading. Ooh, it wants this card. There you go. Sorry, I was shuffling off camera because I wasn't ready. I was going to pick cards, but it wants that card. So here we go. What is it? Knight of Swords. I don't think I've pulled this card quite yet. I just want to sit here and study it. Definitely a masculine energy. It keeps showing me his sword though. Now, what it wants to point out though is how his sword is wavy like this. And that can be like an important feature for a sword or something like that. Like it's a particular design, right? And it's relating to a particular culture. So it is kind of bringing it up. But it's very much pointing this out to me to say, like, this sword is not straight. The sword is not straight, which means your mind is not straight. But this card is a positive card. This is all about writing in for some truth. A Knight of Swords is the fastest knight in the deck. Can be very hurtful at times, because they are so sharp. And that's what it's pointing out with the sword, is like, this is not a clean cut type of sword. This is the kind of sword that runs through you and just like it leaves a nasty hole on its way out, right? That's the whole thing. It's a very curved and strangely shaped blade. Like, that's definitely not one of those clean cuts. It's one of those things where it's going to hurt. And this is your energy, Sagittarius. This is your energy. And look, you're even on a horse. This is so you. Like this and that. And that's why it's pointing it out. It's saying that your mind is not straight. And therefore, as much as you are the fastest knight in the deck, you can be really sharp and to the point and like cut your way to the truth type deal. It's just pointing out that this sword in this deck in particular is, I said, very ruthless. Very ruthless. And in fact, it wants me to bring up the Knight of Swords in my other deck just so you can kind of see the main difference. A Knight of Swords is like victory, truth, can be some warlike energy. And you see how his sword is much straighter. That's what I mean though. Like, he's clearly moving and fast, can be very much this warlike energy, like just ready to cut some shit down. And it's the same, that's the same type of vibe and energy. And look, it's pointing out my two crystals here. You see how one is a lot sharper and smoother than the other, and this other one's a lot more jagged. Like, which crystal would you rather get stabbed by? The really jagged one or the really, really clean, sharp one, right? And that's the comparison it's making, straight up. And it's saying that your sword at this moment is very jagged, and at the same time you have embodied definitely a Knight of Swords energy, like rushing in, just and it can be about like bringing war to your doorstep, other people's doorstep. Like, that's what I mean. It doesn't have to be that angry energy. It can just be like, you know, think of any knight that rushes into that battle there at the end and is like slashing and cutting. But it can have a lot of anger and fierceness behind it and swiftness behind it. But the main comparison it's making at this time is that this sword is much more jagged than this one. And it's much more ruthless in that way. So it just said, be careful. Like, you might not realize how sharp your sword is right now. And that's your mind. And communication. Sword is about communication as well. So that's what it's saying, is like your mind and communication is really ruthless right now. But I think your energy overall is in the right place. Oh, sorry. And that's what it was saying. Definitely masculine energy, because you got the red and the yellow and kind of the orange. And then there's some green there for heart chakra. But those are all the lower chakras in the body system. Definitely the masculine action energy, right? What else? It wants these. It doesn't want me to pull cards for you. It wants them to be drawn and pulled out on their own. Lots of emotion off of that one. This Hanged Man is the story of Sleeping Beauty. And it's really pointing out to me her feet for some reason. And even though they're red, it's implying that they're like frostbitten and like they're cold. Ugh, God. Sagittarius, you really don't like this Hangman energy. Okay. So, obviously, the story of Sleeping Beauty. Perfect symbolism for the Hangman. Just having to sit here and wait. Because, well, in the story, in the fairy tale, it's because she's under a spell, right? She's under a curse. And so there's some of that, but it's also just, like, in general, sleeping. Like, you're sleeping. And Spirit has you sleeping right now. And in this Hangman energy, because of the fact that you are in the process of learning things, seeing the world from a different perspective, which in her case is like, through dreams, because she's basically in a coma. And that's the whole thing. That's what this whole energy of this is about. Is like, you have to flip the world upside down and look at it from a totally different perspective. Which if you do that, it's almost like she's floating, right? Because that's the whole thing. It's like, it's almost like the pillows and the sheets like go away. And it's like she's floating in a rose garden. And she's like smiling when you flip it upside down. Sorry, Sagittarius. I had a Sagittarius call me in the middle of this. So, as I was saying, if you're in this Hangman energy, because you need to flip things upside down. Like I was saying, it's like she's floating, she's smiling, she's dreaming, she's powerful, she's meditating. She is focusing in on her, what I would assume is her womb space right there. And I do Reiki, and I very much kind of, even though you can do all kinds of hand poses, like that's one of the ones I kind of do at my womb space. And that's the whole thing, is she's honing in on that. And also, I want to point out that she's wearing the Valknut, which is a symbol of Odin. And it's a very, very powerful symbol. And it's about, well, it represents all kinds of things. But it's definitely about getting in touch with the higher realms of spirituality. And that's why it's just saying, like, if you're, like, seriously, if you flip this card over, she looks super powerful and happy exactly where she's at, doing what she's doing. If you look at it this way, it's like, oh, it's Sleeping Beauty, and she's just laying there. So it's like, what's your perspective on this? Change your perspective. Because when you flip it back this way, this triangle flips and it becomes more of a masculine energy, right? And that's the whole thing, is it's like you're looking at things in the wrong energy. And that's part where it's like you're all up in the masculine energy. Maybe you need to step more into that feminine energy and be calm and flip things around and look at them from a different perspective. Because as of right now, it's a little sharp, a little ruthless, a little too fast, a little too hard, coming on too much, like you just ready to cut through everything, and the universe is like, no, 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 no. You need to sit here for a while and flip things around and look at them differently. This Five of Cups is like the saddest Five of Cups out of a lot of my decks, simply because it's the like suicide card. This is La Llorona, and she finds out that her husband is in love with someone else. And I think that's right? Yeah, and then she's, she finds out that he's in love with someone else. And she is just like totally down in the dumps about it. And when I say down in the dumps, I mean like she goes off and kills herself. Let me check the story, because she's just so, distraught. But the thing is, it wants to say about this Five of Cups, though, is that you are, or what this figure is, the point of her story is that she then becomes a ghost that just haunts everything. Because she absolutely refuses to move on and find other happiness. So, yeah, La Llorona. The Five of Cups is useless regret without learning. Jealous of her husband's new wife, La Llorona drowns her own children, and now her wailing ghost wanders the earth. She continues to wallow in grief, refusing to seek redemption or happiness. Self-pity, guilt, regret, stagnation, depression. I mean, that's the whole thing, is like you were just way down in this energy. And that's the thing, is she drowns herself. She becomes a ghost. She is the lady in white who haunts a lot of things. And it's bringing up my sleep paralysis a lot, because it's not this figure from this particular tale, but I have the Ring Girl and the Grudge Girl that come and like to terrorize me a lot in my sleep paralysis and my nightmares and stuff. And they're always women in white with really long dark hair, kind of symbolized by water and stuff. And it's just one of those things, like that symbolism of a woman in white with the long, sad, dark hair, and just being like super sad and being a ghost that haunts everything. It's such a dark energy. And it's like, at the same time, you empathize with that. And that's where it becomes the vicious cycle of like re-drowning yourself over and over and over again. Because it's just refusing to find your own happiness. Turning your back on everything. Like there's even this figure, and now that's where it's like, is this figure here to drag you back down, or is this figure here to comfort you that's coming out of the water? Just everything's spilled over, but you're not turning around and looking at these two cups of love that are right here, that are just out of your sight. There's two cups of love just right out of your sight, and you're more worried about these three that have been spilled over here. That's what I mean. Like there's a lot of emotion, and that's where it's like you are not looking at something the right way. You're very much stuck in this energy, and we need to flip some things around. And this is very much, this energy is very much trying to come over here to perhaps get this girl, get this aspect of yourself, right? But You're coming in too sharp and too ruthless. And because of that, this energy is not responding to you. And in fact, that's where it's saying, that's why, whew, thank you, Spirit. That's why it gave me the girl from the ring and everything like that, because it was in the grudge and stuff like that, because it's not that that type of energy can't be overcome and defeated. Wow, so interesting. In the ring, the whole thing was Samara, the creepy evil little girl. She didn't necessarily want to kill everyone. It just became a curse. And the whole curse was that if you didn't take the time to listen to her story, then she'd come out and kill you, right? And that's the whole thing, is like, there's a big aspect here about wanting to be heard. And there's a lot of this blue energy in here, and that's very much all in the throat chakra and stuff. And it's like communication, and with that swords energy, it's just coming in the wrong way. It said you coming in too much like a Sagittarius. Coming in too much like a Sagittarius. And how interesting that these two women are framing this right here, right? There's two parts of yourself, and in one part, it's very happy and peaceful and really getting in touch with stuff. But you're not looking at it because it feels like it's asleep, and it's not turned in the right direction that you want it to be, kind of deal. And so therefore it's like you're not even recognizing this, and you're just honing in on all of this sadness and everything. And that's the whole thing, is like she is so much in her own sadness that you're just coming in being ruthless and everything. And that's not going to get this sad energy away. It just hurts even more, right? Water energy and swords energy, it's like oil and water is what it just said, like oil and water. So gonna just slide and repel off of each other and not really mix, right? What else, Sagittarius? So then what do you need to do, right? It's Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is all about competition. And I actually had this card kind of pop at me yesterday, so I went ahead and read it. And it's about the story of these five brothers. And these five brothers actually bicker and fight all the time with each other. But when it comes to facing an adversary, they can come together and accomplish a lot. And that's where it's just saying, like, and that's where the card has double meaning. It can either be about conflict and competition and just general squabbling and fighting and everything like that. But as you can see, some of these guys have a smile on their face and they feel like it's fun. So there's a bit of enjoyment in this kind of squabbling and fighting. And at the same time, like, it's kind of, which is stupid, it's kind of giving me the thing of like boys will be boys type deal. And we all know how unfair that kind of statement is to everyone else out there in the world. It's like boys will be boys. Like, that's such BS, right? The whole squabbling and bickering and fighting thing, the whole competition thing is just so unnecessary. And that's where this card can either represent all of that conflict, and my wrist just got hot. Like something grabbed me. And that's what I mean. It's like, it's so unnecessary, because when y'all come together, or when all these aspects of you come together and you stop fighting, then you're very strong and very capable. And again, here's that masculine energy. And so this is exactly what it's telling me, is like your feminine energies, your feelings and stuff. You were very much in this energy. You got to kind of notice that the universe has you here for a reason, because you're supposed to be figuring some stuff out. That Hanged Man energy is, ooh, nice. And it just said martyr, like it's just pointing out martyrdom, because actually that can come into the Hanged Man about like being sacrificed and sacrificing yourself for things and kind of being put in this position, right? But your masculine energy, your actual action and doing energy, it's not that it's all bickering and fighting, but notice the big difference. And notice how there's this wavelength and then there's like this wavelength. And it's like on this wavelength, you were just kind of circling back around. But in this wavelength, look at how complicated it kind of is. Look at how jagged that sword is. Like, that's where the true conflict is. I want a card here for the center. What's the last card on this reading? Four of Wands. Yeah. And look at that. The feminine and the masculine energy coming together in this really beautiful card to just appreciate everything that's good. This is about celebrations and marriages and unions, but definitely also about just enjoying the happiness and the moments that you have, because we know that these moments and things don't always get to last. But look at how all the colors come together right here. Very emotional reading, Sagittarius. Very emotional. I'm not like totally taking this away. It's just I was about to clear the table. Doesn't want me to clear the table yet. It said there is a huge difference in how you are feeling and thinking versus what you are doing and saying. Whew. Nice, Spirit. It was saying, this is a 4 card, and you have 4 other cards here, and so that's where it was saying, like, all of this has to come together in balance and harmony within yourself for this to be achieved. Ooh, goodness gracious. You've got to recognize this. You said drowning yourself. You've got to recognize the sadness, this loneliness, this depression, the suicidal tendencies, the never wanting to climb out and get to your happiness, right? Which is where all of this emotion is coming from. You've got to look at this and recognize what it is. You've got to look at this and realize where you're coming on too hard and too strong and too ruthless and too cutting and too mean and too jagged. You've got to look at this and you've got to see where you are sleeping on yourself and where Spirit is making you sit and rest and sleep. Because if you're not going to look at things from a different perspective, then you can't reveal any of this happiness at all. And if you're just going to sit there and bicker and fight and be conflicted and squabble and act like little boys or little children, or maybe you're literally doing this with some people in the real world, maybe this is just within yourself, like you've got to look at all of this energy and find the balance, because when you bring all 4 of these cards together and work on them, you can get to this happier energy. And masculine and feminine energy can be totally within yourself. So your feelings and intuition and your actions, right? So And then that's what brings unity, when your heart and your mind and your whole self can operate as one effectively and come into harmony with what it wants and what it's doing and what it's saying, what it's feeling, blah, 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 blah. Then it can be happy. So, that's what I got for you, Sagittarius. Sorry I got all emotional on you guys. It happens sometimes in my readings. And I will catch you guys later. Thank you.